Thank you, Mr. President, for calling this day of prayer and remembrance. We needed it at this time.
When Billy Graham passed away in 2018, his children made an unexpected discovery in his North Carolina study. Tucked away in drawers and cabinets were private writings that exposed the inner turmoil of America's most famous preacher. These journals revealed shocking truths. His crisis of faith that almost ended his ministry, the true story behind his relationship with Nixon, and confessions about his biggest regrets. The man millions knew from television wasn't telling the whole story until now. Billy Graham was born on November 7, 1918, just before World War I ended. He grew up on a 300-acre dairy farm near Charlotte, North Carolina, where his parents owned over 70 cows. Billy's childhood was filled with hard work, waking early to milk 20 cows before and after school. This routine instilled discipline and a strong work ethic. At 15, his father made him and his sister drink beer until they felt sick, an experience that led him to dislike alcohol for life. As a teen, he was more interested in baseball and girls than religion, unaware he would one day become a global spiritual leader. Everything changed in 1934 when a revival led by preacher Mordecai Ham came to Charlotte. Initially reluctant, Billy was persuaded to attend by a farmhand, Albert McMakin. There, he experienced a profound spiritual awakening and, overcome with emotion, walked to the front to give his life to Christ. This moment set him on a path that would lead millions to hear his message. His journey wasn't without challenges. At 18, he enrolled at Bob Jones College, but struggled with its strict environment and nearly got expelled. He later transferred to Florida Bible Institute, where he thrived, practicing sermons in unconventional ways, preaching to birds, trees, and even alligators. In 1939, at age 20, Billy was ordained as a Southern Baptist minister, despite growing up Presbyterian. He was baptized by immersion in a lake, signifying his deep commitment to faith. His preaching career took off during World War II when he joined Youth for Christ. At 25, he delivered his first sermon for the organization in Chicago, drawing 2,000 people. Over the next 7 years, he traveled to 300 cities across the US, Canada, and Europe, reaching thousands. His high-energy rallies, blending sermons with music and celebrity testimonies, attracted massive crowds, sometimes exceeding 70,000 attendees. By 1946, Youth for Christ had expanded to 300 US chapters and 200 overseas, laying the foundation for Billy Graham's global ministry. A defining moment in Billy Graham's career came in 1949 with the Los Angeles Crusade, held under a tent dubbed the Canvas Cathedral. Initially modest, attendance surged after radio host Stuart Hamblin and war hero Louis Zamperini publicly converted. Media mogul William Randolph Hearst took notice, instructing his newspapers to promote Graham, launching him to national fame. The crusade extended from 3 weeks to 8, drawing 400,000 attendees. In 1950, he founded the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, launching the radio program Hour of Decision and expanding globally through television, print, and film. Graham's influence reached beyond the U.S. His 1954 London Crusade drew over 2 million people, marking his international impact. He boldly preached in apartheid South Africa in 1973, Communist Hungary in 1977, and North Korea in 1992. In 1995, he used satellite broadcasts to reach 185 countries in 116 languages, with 10 million viewers and 2.5 million responses. Over his lifetime, he spoke to 215 million people across 185 nations. His largest crowd gathered in South Korea in 1973. with 1.1 million attendees. His ability to connect with people, combined with innovative media use, made him one of history's most influential evangelists. That night by the tree stump at Forest Home didn't just change his life, it shaped the future of evangelical Christianity. Graham was close to many U.S. presidents, but his bond with Richard Nixon stood out. He met Nixon in the 1950s when Nixon was a senator, and they became very close. By 1968, Graham was so involved in Nixon's campaign that he wrote memos and gave advice on winning evangelical voters. Between 1969 and 1974, he visited the White House 30 times, sometimes even staying overnight. However, when the Watergate scandal exposed Nixon's lies, Graham was devastated, realizing he had become too deeply involved in politics. In 2002, Graham's past caused another scandal when 1972 tapes revealed a conversation between him and Nixon in which they made anti-Semitic comments about Jewish control of the media. Graham later said he didn't remember the conversation but apologized, acknowledging that his words didn't reflect his true feelings. While he was widely respected, this incident hurt his reputation as a unifier. Later in life, he admitted he regretted becoming too entangled in politics, believing it could harm both faith and governance. Billy Graham took a stand against racial segregation at his crusades. In 1953, during an event in Chattanooga, Tennessee, he personally removed ropes separating white and black audience members, saying he wouldn't preach if segregation remained. This was a year before segregation in schools was ruled illegal. While Graham ensured integrated seating at his events, he avoided civil rights protests and direct activism, believing that faith, rather than political action, would change people's hearts. Some civil rights leaders criticized him for not doing more, especially during the height of the movement. Graham's relationship with Martin Luther King Jr. was complicated. They collaborated at times, with King even praying at one of Graham's crusades in 1957. However, their approaches to racial justice differed. While King believed in protests and direct action, Graham preferred working within the system. At times, he even distanced himself from the movement, not wanting to be seen as political. In later years, he admitted he could have done more for civil rights. Billy Graham's marriage to Ruth Bell Graham was central to his life. They met at Wheaton College in 1940 and married in 1943, remaining together for 63 years until Ruth's passing in 2007. Despite Billy's frequent travels, they maintained a strong connection through daily phone calls and prayer. Ruth was his greatest supporter, even though they had disagreements, such as when Billy told her she couldn't drive after wrecking their car. Over time, Graham's Christian beliefs evolved. He moved from strict fundamentalism to a more inclusive approach, working with different Christian denominations and even meeting with Pope Paul VI in 1964. His legacy remains one of faith, influence, and the challenges of balancing religion and politics. Thanks for watching.